Jai, Yule blessings, happy winter solstice. I'm so happy to connect with you virtually over this magical holiday. Today we're going to talk about how to celebrate Yule, what it means, some of the tradition, history, and lore behind it, and some really fun practices like Yule altar building, some mistletoe magic, and we'll also get into some journaling and a guided meditation here together. If you would like to make this a longer practice for yourself, there is also a 30-minute yin yoga practice that I've sequenced for you that will help you get deeper into this energy of the winter solstice. So if you would like to access that, it'll be on this same page. You can watch this video, get to know a little bit more about how to celebrate, and then set your space, make it super magical, do your yoga class and any of these other rituals that resonate with you. So if we've never met before, then my name is Sierra. I am a yoga teacher, modern mystic, and a mindfulness coach. I'm also the creator and founder of the Mystic Members Club, which is an online virtual community for women to connect over spirituality, wellness, and personal development. These practices, like the Wheel of the Year and these seasonal celebrations, are really the core of everything that I teach, and they were sort of the beginning of my witchy and spiritual practice. So being able to share these celebrations with you and kind of celebrate them alongside you in a way is really special to me, and I really hope that you guys get a lot of good insight and inspiration out of these classes. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown about what you can expect from this workshop. First, we're going to cover a little intro to the Wheel of the Year and why it's important. Then we're going to talk about the history and traditions of Yule and the history behind it. Then we'll talk about the energy of Yule and the winter solstice, how to access it, and then we'll end with a little bit of journaling and guided meditation. So I recommend setting yourself up in a space where you can be cozy and undisturbed. Maybe light some candles and some incense, grab your journal or a notebook and a pen, maybe a warm mug of tea or coffee, and let's get started. So first off, I just want to set the stage for you and let you know why the heck we are talking about any of this, or why it's important, or what it can do for you. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into the specifics of winter solstice energy, but essentially it is this honoring of darkness and return of light. And when we are able to honor that darkness and light, not only within ourselves, but within nature and within the universe, it can be a very empowering and very supportive process. It gives us permission to lean into these senses of stillness, these senses of stability and quiet that we're so often yearning for in modern culture. And it helps us to envision new ways of being and new perspectives in life, which in turn gives us more space for our inner selves and gives us more inner space for our highest selves and our inner freedom to shine through. So I know that those are really lofty goals to have, but it's all about a practice, right? And getting on the journey, kind of taking that first step in this practice and learning about these seasonal energies and getting more connected to what's going on around you in nature is sort of the first step on that journey. Okay, so first I'm going to give you a little 101 on the Wheel of the Year, which is the framework that this winter solstice or Yule tradition is lifted from. So the Wheel of the Year is a seasonal calendar of celebrations and holidays that correspond to astronomically significant events. So the kind of four cardinal events are the two solstices and the two equinoxes, one of which we're going to talk about today. And then there are also what we call cross-quarter festivals, so the points in between those. So there are 8 holidays in total, many of which have modern incarnations that you probably know about. And Yule, the winter solstice, the one we're going to talk about today, is probably the most copied one of all of them. This is kind of the most universal of all the celebrations. So as we go through and talk about the energies, the celebrations, and the magic behind winter solstice, odds are you probably already know a lot of it, and it's kind of sort of just connecting the dots, which can be super fun. And I'll tell you a little bit about why I think the Wheel of the Year is so important and why it's been so important to me, because it connects us with these cycles of life and death that are necessary and pertinent to life and development and growth, right? It is our way of connecting with more natural, more prehistoric ways of being. Prehistoric in the sense that we're getting to the root, getting back to the heart of who we are as human beings, having a spiritual experience on this earth. Especially in our modern hustle culture and our digital age, we're not really given space for these spaces of stillness, for these spaces of reflection. And that is one of the most important lessons that I think the Wheel of the Year has to offer us, as we'll cover super in depth in this Winter Solstice class about why that space and quiet is so important for us. Okay, you ready to bust out your journal and take some notes? Let's get into it. So Yule is the winter solstice. Yule is just a kind of spiritual, traditional folk name that's given to the winter solstice, which usually happens between December 20th and 23rd in the northern hemisphere, and it's flipped if you're in the southern hemisphere. So the winter solstice will actually be in our perceived summertime in the northern hemisphere. So like I mentioned before, the winter solstice is based on an astronomically significant event, which is the lowest position of the sun in the sky. So you're probably noticing around the winter time, if you live in the northern hemisphere, that the days grow significantly shorter. I know where I'm at in Oregon right now, the sun sets at around 4:30 p.m. And I remember at the height of summer when the sun was setting at 9:30, sometimes 10. Right? So we're noticing that these days are getting shorter, and that's because the sun has now reached its lowest point on the horizon, where it barely even gets above the horizon line. Where in the summertime, the sun comes all the way up, almost across the middle of the sky, and has much more time to illuminate the day. Right? So that's why the days have become so much shorter in the wintertime, because the winter solstice is the day that the sun reaches its lowest point on the horizon line. But the celebration of the winter solstice is that after it reaches that lowest point on the horizon, it'll kind of stay there hovering for about 3 days. I mean, the sun doesn't hover, it still rises and sets, but its position on the horizon line stays the same for about 3 days. And then after that, it starts to incline again. It starts to grow, and the days start to grow longer. And so it is this sort of rebirth, or this sense of renewed energy, as we know that the days of springtime and summertime are on the way. So you can kind of start to see the spiritual lens and the significant emotional and mental well-being lens that gets put on this. In many folk and pagan traditions, this is a pivotal time for rebirth. This sort of re-rising of the sun signifies hope and rebirth and renewal. And for this reason, in many mythologies and folk tales, there are often magical children or sort of solar deities that are born around this time of year. Obviously, the most well-known of these magical children and solar deities is Jesus Christ from the Christian Catholic faiths. There's also, though, the Roman god Mithras, the Greek god Attis, and this god that is known broadly as Sol Invictus, or sort of this unconquered sun. So the reason I'm bringing this up is that they're all different faces of the same energy. Right? And I feel like another important teaching of the Wheel of the Year is that we are all much more deeply united than we know, especially when it comes to topics such as religion and spirituality, which can get so divisive for so many people. I think returning to this truth that we all carry the same heart at the core of our practices can be really unifying and inspiring for us. And even before the incarnation of these solar deities and these magical children, this has always been a time of deep spiritual significance across cultures. So much so that there have been these massive monoliths that have been erected all around the world that coincide with the solar position on the winter solstice, right? The most significant of these is Stonehenge, right? So not only Stonehenge, but there's also sites that commemorate the winter solstice around the UK, Ireland, Egypt, Germany, New Zealand, and even in the United States, most commonly Ohio for some reason. So we were so connected to these solar events that we erected these massive medals to commemorate these super important solar events, and they're still there. That's a little bit about the history and the tradition, the folk behind the winter solstice. Now let's get into the energetic practices of Yule. So like I mentioned, winter solstice is a wonderful time for energetic rebirth. We talked about in our Samhain masterclass, if you watched that as well, how that was the time of death in the world. That was the time of darkness, the coming of fall, where we knew that the death of the winter would soon be upon us. And now that we've gone through that death of Samhain, of Halloween, now we have this rebirth of the winter solstice coming forward. Because as we know now, after the solstice, the sun starts to rise on the horizon again, and this new beginning, this promise of spring and warmth and daylight has arrived. So what is it good for? What are the spiritual energies? What are the powerful energies that are available to us at this time? Well, the most important ones are definitely this energy of letting go, right? This energy of cultivating inner peace, inner quiet, stillness, reflection, hibernation, and renewal. The deepest lesson of the winter solstice, I think, is to come back to this gift of being rather than doing. So if we listen in, right, this energy of rest and renewal is apparent in all of the world around us, right? Dependent on where you live, of course, and the weather, but in general, you get the sense that nature is quiet and nature is sleeping almost. It's this period of natural introspection that if we can tap into and honor and listen to that part of our heart that is yearning for that inner quiet, then that can bring us much more regeneration and bring us sort of a sense of renewed vigor and energy and enthusiasm coming into the new year. It seems like kind of an antithesis to the modern holiday season where we feel perhaps the most rushed and active and stressed than any other time in the year. And I'm not saying that you have to forego all of your Christmas plans and traveling with your family, but bringing this sense of inner stillness and this sense of peace and contentment into all of the holiday hustle and bustle, I think can be a wonderful practice on its own and very beneficial. Okay, so let's talk about how to celebrate the winter solstice. We're going to go through a couple rituals. I'm going to tell you how to decorate your altar, and then we will get into the journaling and the meditation. So, first things first is our Yule altar. So, any sort of evergreen plants that signify this sort of promise of new spring, this endurance of life through the winter is always great. So, holly, ivy, evergreens, pine cones, anything that sort of reflect winter foliage is really powerful. Candles to signify the rebirth of the sun, white, green, or red cloths, so kind of Christmassy colors, an oil burner, and maybe some images that represent this rebirth of the sun, this promise of new light and new life. Another fun way to honor the winter solstice spirit is to connect with the Holly King. So the Holly King is a Celtic deity. He is a form of this god known as the Green Man, which is essentially this shepherd of nature and plants and foliage and greenery. And it is the job of the Holly King to care for the prana, or the energy, the green life force that is laying dormant within the earth at this time. He's sort of seen as this wise old grandfather or grandfather time, if you have another image that goes along with that. And the Holly King is helpful to call into your practices when you feel yourself going through sort of an inner winter, or if you need some extra support through times of self-doubt or low energy or low enthusiasm, or sort of this sense of inner darkness. A really simple way to connect and honor the Holly King is to forage some holly, ethically, of course, in your area, and don't worry about going out into the woods and finding holly. If you can't, it's totally okay to go buy some from a store. Just do it with intention whenever you do. Forage your holly and then take a moment to give yourself a ceremony around it, right? You can say a prayer to your holly, envision this old grandfather, right, watching over you and protecting you, and just ask for extra support and guidance and care during this time. Then you can keep your holly with you in a little pouch like a talisman, or put it up on your altar or somewhere important to you, just as a reminder, right, that you're never alone in times of trouble. There is also a lot of magic in the tradition of the Christmas tree. So it was very common in pagan and folk times to bring in evergreen trees to your home as a way to protect this green life of the earth. Right, so if you can, I would recommend getting maybe a real evergreen tree this year, or next if you already have your tree up for this year. But instead of seeing it just as a decoration, maybe see if you can treat your tree, and it's going to sound a little silly, like a guest in your home. Just treat it with respect, treat it with reverence, see it as an incarnation of Mother Earth and nature, which it is. right? And care for your tree. You can decorate it however you like, which is always fun to do with family. And then before you get rid of your tree for the year, save a piece of the trunk. So cut off a log, and that is your Yule log for the next year, which we'll talk about in just a second. So one of my favorite ways to celebrate the solstice is with a winter solstice fire. Now, this can be something that you do alone, but it is really fun to do with friends and loved ones. You just gather together and have a fire, either inside on your hearth if you have one, or outside, always safely. And you're able to make this ceremony completely your own, right? It would be really fun to maybe invite everyone to bring along an instrument or a story or a poem or just something to share with the group. And get together, you can have a talk about different memories from the year, things that you're grateful for, maybe share some yummy warm spiced cider or some foods that make you feel warm and fuzzy, and just allow yourself time to be together, right? Be fully present with yourself and the people that are there, and use this time as a way to give respect to the year that's unfolded before you. And it's at this winter solstice fire that you would then burn your Yule log. So the Yule log is a log that you've collected off of your evergreen tree from the year before, or if you haven't, it's totally fine to go get a new log for the year. But a Yule log is just a special log that you kind of infused with a little bit of intention. And if you want to do something even more cute and fun, then you can take pieces of paper and write down your wishes or your intentions for the new year. Maybe write down a few things that you're grateful for from the past year, and then tie them to your Yule log with a red ribbon. And then once your winter solstice fire is going and everyone's feeling good and jolly, you toss your Yule log into the fire and let the smoke carry your wishes and your intentions up into the air and into the spirit realm. If having a whole big fire is not feasible for you, that's totally okay. You can still honor the solstice. You'll just make a solstice ritual candle. So for this, you'll get a large pillar candle in a glass jar, preferably either the color red, white, or gold, just to signify the sun in this time, but it can be whatever color you want in actuality. And then taking some cinnamon or frankincense essential oil and anoint your candle. So put it in your hands, and you can rub the candle around in your hands and bring some good vibes and some warm intentions into your candle, and then light it at nighttime. You can start with the few nights before leading up to the solstice and then the few nights after, but lighting it, and as you do, saying a little prayer or a little thanks to the sun god, and maybe putting in some wishes for the new year into your candle. The thing here, though, is to never blow out your candle. It doesn't mean you never put it out, but you snuff it out, either with your fingertips if you're brave, or you can get a candle snuffer. But with this, it's very intentional energy and magic that's going into the candle. So when we blow it, then all of that energy and all of that intention just kind of goes up into the air, right? But we want to contain it into our candle. So don't leave your candle burning for 6 days at a time. Just snuff it out. And the last little ritual that I'll tell you about here is a mistletoe fertility ritual. So mistletoe is another one that has kind of bled over into our modern day celebrations of the holiday time. But mistletoe was seen as a really powerful herbal ally or energy that we could harness for fertility magic in the new year. Right, mistletoe is still blooming, it's still green, it still has life throughout the winter time, which was very exciting. And also the berries are white and sticky, so it's not hard to see the correlation between the berries and fertility magic. Paganism got very vulgar for a while, but these were seen as sort of energies that held the potential of spring within them. An important distinction that I want to make here is when I say fertility magic or fertility ritual, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are trying to bring a child into the world, right? Fertility in the sense of any creative endeavor. So if you wanted to bring goodwill or friendship into your home, you could use this mistletoe ritual to do that. Or if you wanted to bring success into your business or your creative ventures, that is a form of fertility as well. So this ritual can be for everyone, not just those trying to conceive. So for the mistletoe ritual, you will need a white candle, a white pouch, and some mistletoe berries. And all you have to do is set yourself up in your sacred space. You can call in the directions if that's in your practice, or even just sitting there and meditating for a few moments to calm your mind. And then gathering your berries, holding them in your hand, and infusing all of your good wishes, all of your intentions, imagining what it is you would like to give birth to, so to say, in this new year. And imagine that you're pressing all of that energy into the berries and you're infusing them with your well wishes. And if you like, you can even visualize them starting to glow with this bright golden light of the sun. and then keeping them in your pouch. And then these you can keep with you as well as a talisman, and keep them with you as you go. And as you're ready to, 3 months later, you will deposit the berries back into the earth. Alrighty, so we covered a lot. I hope that you got something that resonated with you out of that, and hopefully you can take some of these rituals and practice them either with yourself or with loved ones over the holiday. So now let's move into our journaling questions. So go ahead and grab your journal and a pen if you haven't already. And I'll give you these questions and give you a few moments here in the video in real time to write them out. And then I'll call you back when I'm ready. So the first journaling question here: what blessings from this past year do I have to be grateful for? So what blessings from this past year do I have to be grateful for? And I'll give you a few minutes with that question. Okay, come on back from that one. Your second question here: in what ways have I grown tired and now seek renewal? In what ways have I grown tired and now seek renewal? So this is sort of asking yourself what you're ready to let go of. I'll give you a few moments for that question. And your last question here, what am I aching to create in this new year? What am I aching to create in the new year? And I'll give you a few moments. Alrighty, so coming on back from that when you're ready. And now just to close us out, I'll ground us down with a brief meditation. So bring yourself into a comfortable space. You can be seated or lying down if you prefer. As you're ready, come into some stillness and gently close your eyes. If you're seated, reaching up tall through the crown of your head, and dropping your shoulders away from your ears. Letting your hands relax in your lap. Let's take a few deep breaths, deep into the base of your belly. Sighing it out through an exhale. Inhale breath. Exhale. You can take 3 more just like that on your own. Letting go of any excess tension. Allowing your thoughts to settle. And allowing the muscles around your forehead and your jaw to soften. Allow your body to become a bit heavy. I want you to begin to draw your awareness from your breath down the length of your spine, coming down through the tailbone and into the earth. Let your awareness rest on this vast and sleeping earth beneath you. Maybe feel the soft and slow inhales and exhales of the earth. Maybe feel into the subtle warmth that is at the heart of the planet. And drawing your awareness back up from the core of the earth, and now expand it out from your body. Imagining all of the sleeping animals snug in their caves and dens. Imagine all of the sleeping seeds and roots wrapped in the warmth of their soil. Feeling into this sense of inner stillness. Drawing your awareness back into your body, back into your roots, and imagine the roots of your own being growing deep, enveloped in the still and quiet of the earth. Now bring your attention softly back up into your body and into your heart. Feeling into the warm, dark space in your chest. Feeling the steady rhythm, the steady pulse of your heart. Feeling into the warmth and into the quiet. Becoming still and listening to your heart. If any thoughts or emotions arise here, just meet them with peace and gentleness. Know that anything that arises here is the voice of your inner self, the voice of your soul. And treat them with great care and compassion. Let's begin to gently deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your body. Maybe wiggling the fingertips and the toes. Let's bring the palms together and hands to your heart in a seal that we call Anjali Mudra, or seal of the heart. Just taking a moment to give some gratitude for the season, gratitude for this time of rest, gratitude to Mother Earth for always supporting us, always keeping us held no matter what, and gratitude to each other for connecting over this space, over this time. Even though you guys aren't here with me in this room, I do feel you there. And I am so honored to share these practices with you. Namaste. Thank you so much for your practice. Many Yule blessings to you and your loved ones. Jai! I'll see you soon.